also graduated from Carl Junction, but that was in 2005. I'm sure you can't tell the difference. No, I'm kidding. I appreciate all you guys being here today and for the opportunity to present Happy Trees Table Company here at 1 Million Cups Road Trip Edition. I'm going to work off of a script this morning just because if I don't focus, we'll be here until lunchtime. My name is Josh. Like I said, I'm the founder of Happy Trees Table Co. Today I'm going to briefly talk about the creation of Happy Trees, the current state of the business, and Happy Trees' vision for the future. I've lived in the Joplin Metro my entire life, more specifically Carl Junction. There was only one thing that I really wanted to do after high school, and that was play soccer. Outside of that, I didn't really know what life consisted of. I spent much of my collegiate years not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I always felt like I had an entrepreneurial mindset. My wife might disagree with me and say that that was a lack of focus, but I choose to be an optimist and disagree. Fast forward to 2019, I was working as a retail manager for a local business, and a need arose for a new dining room table in our home. We consistently host a community group that ranges from 14 to 20 people at any given time, and we were tired of building plastic tables to put up each week. I set out with a grand plan of building our new dining room table. I devoured any material I could on the process, and my wife inundated my text messages with Pinterest links. We bought the materials and I began to work on the table. The work on the table had barely began when I was notified that my father passed away suddenly. Now, working on the table took a different meaning for me. I was enjoying the table's progress, but working on it became a kind of therapy for me when I was learning how to process and grieve my father's death. During those first few months of building the table, I fell in love with furniture making. I knew then I didn't want it to stop with just one piece. I was focused and driven to continue along this path. Growing up, I spent a lot of time out at my grandparents' house on weekends and during breaks. To this day, there is a little oval table that sits just to the left of my grandfather's chair. Over the years, it's held things like the television remote that you dare not disturb, a daily crossword from the paper, my grandmother's letter opener, and a jar of lemon drops. The table has a simple elegance to it, but it's always been there. For 25 plus years, as memory serves, it has stood the test of time through grandchildren and now great-grandchildren. That little table, full of nostalgia, is a perfect example of what heirloom furniture is. It's sturdy, formidable, and able to take whatever life throws at it. I founded Happy Trees on this ideal. Happy Trees exists to craft fine furniture for clients to build memories and communities around. So, start of 2022, my wife and I took a huge step of faith leading into that year, with me going full-time with the business in January. Our community support has been crucial to our growing, since Happy Trees relies solely on word of mouth and social media for client work and engagement and customer engagement. As the business continues to grow, my client work has primarily been carpentry based. However, as Happy Trees' portfolio expands, so too do the opportunities for more heirloom furniture pieces. So the two struggles I really face currently are space and a diverse clientele. Firstly, space. Currently I operate out of a single car garage space. Workflow can become a frustration point at times. Coming from 15 years of retail and office management experience, I understand the importance of minimizing the number of times you're hands-on during a particular step. But being confined to such a small space hinders production speeds. There are Secondly, a diverse clientele is another struggle/growth point for us. There are a vast number of different furniture styles out there: farmhouse, French classic, mid-century modern, modern industrial, to name a few. So building a client base with a broad aesthetic is important to me as Happy Trees grows. One way I plan to address this growth area is by holding a contest upon launching the business website called Dream Furniture for Cost. I will select a few portfolio building furniture pieces, and the winners will receive their dream piece for the cost of the materials. No labor at all involved in that process. So finally, where does Happy Trees go from here? I hope to be in a multifunctional retail shop space within 3 years. This space would tailor to woodworking, craftspeople, and DIYers alike while still taking on custom client work. It would offer both educational consignment opportunities to the community through a classroom and a community furniture gallery. This space will also carry exotic and domestic hardwoods and offer a hardwood milling service for locally sourced hardwoods from the community. You can find Happy Trees Table Co. on Facebook, Instagram, or call me on my business phone. It's all listed here. Thank you all for your time for listening today, and we'll open it up to any questions.
In that last part, so where you're looking at selling and manufacturing, are you wanting to open that space that has this, like this, to have the place to display, or are you looking for a place to display that?
Yes and yes.
Okay.
So at a certain point, big dream is that all will function in the same space. It may be a larger property with multiple buildings on it to service as that, or just one large area with an open floor plan that they can all interact and engage with one another seamlessly.
I would just, in the Osho, I don't know if you know Steve Chapman Sawmill. Have you ever been down there to source any wood?
No, I've got a local hardwood dealer that I currently use that's a little diamond in the rough.
Yeah, so he
yes.
is building a, and I haven't checked back in with him, but he is building, because he does make some furniture, but he is building like a showroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was my understanding that he would showcase other people's
Mhm.
product in there. So I'd be happy to give you his
Sure.
his contact information might be another place to have your furniture on display.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's gonna be my question is, do you have any other locations where you've got your works displayed and available for sale?
Not currently. So primarily right now, the way that we are sustaining our business is it is by order, custom based. So I have clients reach out to me with something that they want crafted, and then we sit down, we kind of go through what that might look like. We talk about materials and labor, because operating out of our already retrofitted single car garage, there's no overhead that I have currently. So as building the business, I only have a labor fee and a material fee that I am charging customers. There's no percent markup on any of that. So largely,
Without having to get a location, you can display your stuff in different places.
sure.
Very basic.
Appreciate the question.
Have you, I can't remember the conversation that we had, if this was someone that was local or ever, the video showed the really pretty piece with the blue.
Mhm.
And I know you and I had a conversation about that style and it being more on a coast, and
Sure.
so it's not really here. So because of that, are you finding your clients are more locally, or are you able to, if someone is from another state, are you able to ship
Right.
something to them, or are you just not trying not to go that big yet and you wanna stay local?
Well, that kind of bleeds into the whole Etsy concept as well, right? But the problem with Etsy is that it works the same way as social media does. So to answer your question, yes, I'm fine out, shipping out and things like that. It just has to be integrated into the actual price of the custom piece. Last I checked, and this was before fuel prices started to go up and inflation went crazy, it was $700 to $1,000 to ship a dining room table to California. So I'm sure that's doubled at this point. So it's really, if a client is okay taking on that cost for the same product that someone would get for $1,500 to $2,000 less here, then yeah. but the Etsy monster, the Etsy machine, if you will, they have algorithms that work just like social media sources. So if you're not offering free shipping, they're not advertising your work. Which means that then you also have to build into those sources the same thing as if I were to take on a custom client. So currently I'm more locally based. All of my customers have been within 50 miles of Carl Junction and Joplin, but I'm happy to drive for those customers as well.
Have you worked with, sorry, I had another question, sorry. Have you worked with, I don't know how it works, but like if someone is building a home, and some of the stuff like in your pictures, you have like, where you're able to go in and build like new shelving and do all of that, have you tried to work with maybe some contractors or home, people that are building these homes that they're asking for custom and maybe they want someone specialized to do that?
Sure, that's a really good question. So I just took the business full-time in mid-January, so we're still building out that client base, right? That's one of probably our largest struggle point currently is I just don't have the client base yet to readily build the things that I wanna build. My wife falls into that farmhouse mentality and aesthetic, and that's largely what we see in this area, like you were talking about before. The river tables and the slab countertops and things like that really haven't hit the market hard here yet. It's been on the east and west coast now for 3+ years. So it's starting to work its way into this area. It's through Texas and on up through Arkansas. There's quite a few craftspeople in Northwest Arkansas that have started, so it's coming. It just hasn't yet, but thankfully I get to be one of the forefront people on it.
Mason, I had a friend that had a similar business down in the Neosho area. He wasn't from there, that's just where he was at the time. But it was called Prairie Loop Furniture. And what he would do, and he doesn't do this anymore, but what he would do is he would use like the ClickFunnels program, targeting certain areas of the country, like the Northwest or wherever. Like he went all over the United States. And what he would do is he would do a campaign, and he would heavily, put market, ad spend behind it, but he would heavily target an area for a certain amount of time. And so then he'd be able to set up, 6 or 8 different, very high-end, tables and stuff like that, and then they would know that it was like 6 weeks out. So he would set up, and then all he had was a truck and a trailer, and he was in a single car garage also. But so he would set all that up, then he would make all the pieces of the furniture, and then he would go to that area and spend about 2 weeks and just go around to all the people that have purchased those tables and set them up. He would do it himself, go and set them up, and there was no shipping, no setup fee, and all that. And I mean, he would go for 2 weeks and have, $25,000 to $30,000 worth of furniture in a 2 weeks time.
Sure.
And they would know up front, it's gonna be 6 weeks before we get your stuff, and they would know up front that was what he was doing, was setting up, several of these different areas. And I mean, he would target, like 2 or 3 states at a time, and was making a very, very lucrative living at that. He just couldn't physically do it anymore. But
Sure.
something to think about.
Do you have a website where people like build their stuff, or?
Well, not quite. So, and that's one of the slides there does state that I'm hoping to have the website launched prior to the end of 2022. So, a little bit.
It'd be cool, if they could pick their wood.
Right.
They could pick the color of the stain.
Right.
They could pick this, whatever.
And that is the model I am building towards. But as I said in the presentation, it took a fairly large step of faith out back in January. One of the stipulations from the missus was that it has to be sustainable.
Right.
So I had to be able to pay myself, which means we grow slower, which is fine. But we've been able to do that now, and here we are 5 months down the road, and it's been a wonderful blessing to be able to do so. But that means, you know, the revenue that is there and that is generated outside of paying myself is a slow process, so we're just building towards those next big goals.
Okay, we got time for one more.
So, this is just two ideas, I don't know how well it'll work for you, but there are a lot of local businesses that perhaps have empty storefront, and you could maybe go to them and say, hey, would you allow me to put, several pieces on display at your storefront, because their business doesn't actually occupy the storefront? I'm thinking maybe of like the Carthage Square, someplace that people are walking by already, and it would help them because it, brings somebody to stop and stand in front of that business a little bit longer, but it helps you as well. So it's kind of a win-win, but it wouldn't be any cost. A second idea is maybe not now, but a little bit down the road, donate a nice bench or piece of furniture to some kind of indoor place in exchange for them letting you put your name there.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, that is something that I have, as far as the donation, planned on doing. I know that we do the silent auction for the Carl Junction Chamber every year, and that is something that I am working towards. What biggest obstacle towards, or that I have with that currently, is that as I take on a custom job and bid that particular job out, if I'm not working on that, I'm getting paid less, if that makes sense. But my schedule is, you know, I'm booked up through, I think, September as it stands right now. So if I pull away from that, I have the potential to not be sustainable. So it's that fine line of keeping the wife happy, but also doing the things that would also help us grow outside of what we're doing.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh.